Shana Tova, everyone, and thank you for joining us wherever you are. We welcome you to this service on this unusual year yet again, and invite you to rise for the sounding of the shofar. Tekiah, Shavarim, Teruah, Tekiah, please be seated.
For those of you who have prayer books, we're on page 11. The first mitzvah of the Torah is, let there be light. So we are commanded. In everything you do, be a menorah, bringer of light. Live with honor, act with integrity, do your work with passion, and the radiance of your deeds will live after you. May our ideals burn bright, forever unextinguished. And may we live our lives like the flames we kindle, always stretching upward, striving for the good, reaching for you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu lahadlik ner shel yom tov. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on this festival.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lichadlik ner shel yom tov.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
We continue now on page 15.
תקעו בחודש שופר בכסה ליום חגנו, כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי יעקב. At the new moon, at the full moon, for our feast day, sound the shofar, for that is the law of Israel, the way of the God of Jacob. Hallelu v'teka shofar, praise God with a blast of the shofar. As you are able, again, please rise. ברוך אתה אדוני, שומע כל תרועת עמו ישראל ברחמים. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, the true voice of your people Israel. Tekiah. We continue on page 16. Here I am, one soul within this prayer community. Like those around me, I bring my own concerns and yearnings to this place, hoping they will find expression in the time-hallowed words of my people and in the traditions cherished by generations before me. May I bring the best of my energies to these holy days, approaching this spiritual work with open heart and mind, sincerity, and sustained focus on the deep questions of this season. Who am I? How shall I live? Where have I fallen short or failed? This night, I take up the challenge of the days of awe, Cheshbon HaNefesh, a searching examination of my life, a moral inventory of my deeds, words, and thoughts. During the next 10 days, let me face the truth about myself and listen to your still, small voice, taking comfort in your promise that I'm always free to change, released from staleness and routine. Let me know the joy of beginning again. May I gain strength as I share this task with those around me, united by our common purpose, Tikkun Midot, improving our characters, and Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. I now prepare myself to pray, one soul amidst this holy congregation. On page 19, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Yehi ratzon shenizke levirchotecha vishnat 5782, our God and God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5782. Eternal One, bless us and the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness and peace, comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. As you are able, I invite you to please rise for the Baruch Hu. Bless the Eternal, the Blessed One. Blessed is the Eternal, the Blessed One, now and forever. We continue on page 22. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your great name fills the universe with majestic might. Your word creates twilight and dusk. As your wisdom opens the gates of night, your discernment separates the changing seasons and causes the passage of time. The stars arrayed across the sky reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from nighttime. You are God of all we can perceive and all that is beyond our perception. Living eternal God, be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. We continue on page 25. Shema Yisrael, hear the voice of Hashsnah. There is no one holy as the Eternal. Truly, there is none beside you. There is no rock like our God. Shema Yisrael, hear the call of Moses. Embrace and carry in your hearts this day. In heaven above and earth below, Adonai is God. There is none else. Shema Yisrael, hear the words of the mystics. There is nothing but God, no place and no person is empty of God, and the whole earth is suffused with God's glory. Hear, O Israel, God's hands are our hands. God's work is our work. God's voice speaks through us. God is one when we are one.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto, Le'olam Vaed.
Listen, Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated as we join together in the Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On page 28, if you have your prayer books in front of you, please join me. You shall love Adonai your God with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. Thus you will become holy to your God. I, Adonai, am your God, who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. I, Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem Emet. We continue on page 33. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Believe that you can cross this sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances, unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song.
Adonai et Yaakov, uglo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Gai
We praise you, Eternal One, the one who redeemed Israel.
Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Lishalom, Lishalom. Hashkivenu, Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom. V'hamidenu Malkeinu L'chaim U'Lishalom U'Lishalom. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom, ufroz aleinu sukat shlomecha. לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, עלינו סוכת שלומך, השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לשלום, לשלום. השכיבנו, השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לשלום. השכיבנו ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הבורא סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
Blessed One, you spread over us a canopy of peace, a shelter of shalom over all Israel, your people, and over Jerusalem. We turn to page 40, and I invite you to please rise for the Chatzi Kaddish.
יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה ביומדי ורחירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייך יום אחד ובחיי תכל בית ישראל בעגל ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שרבה מברך לעולם ולעולם יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשא בריחו לעילה ולעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמיר בעמה ויאמרו אמן.
We remain standing and turn to page 42 for the start of the Amidah.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Eloi Avoteinu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah Elohei Rachel Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei HaKol V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imot U'mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem L'ma'an Shemo Be'achava Zochreinu l'chaim Melech hafetz b'chaim V'chodreinu b'sefer ha'chaim V'chodreinu b'sefer ha'chaim L'ma'ach Elohim chayim Melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen Baruch Adonai Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah
Remember us for life, sovereign God, who treasures life. Inscribe us in the book of life for your sake, God of life. Sovereign of salvation, pillar of protection. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai, shield of Abraham, sustainer of Sarah. We turn to page 46. Your life-giving power is forever, Adonai, with us in life and in death. You liberate and save, cause dew to descend, and with mercy abundant, lovingly nurture all life. From life to death, you are the force that flows without end. You support the falling, heal the sick, free the imprisoned and confined. You are faithful even to those who rest in the dust. Power beyond power, from whom salvation springs, sovereign over life and death, who is like you? Merciful God, who compares with you? With tender compassion, you remember all creatures for life. Faithful and true, worthy of our trust, you sustain our immortal yearnings. In you, we place our undying hopes. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol, wellspring of blessing, power eternal. You are the one who gives and renews all life. We turn to page 49. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. You are holy, your name is holy, and seekers of holiness praise you day by day. Please be seated. Still on page 49. How do we sense God's holiness? Through awe. ובכן, תן פחדך, Adonai Eloheinu, al kol maasecha. And so, in your holiness, give all creation the gift of awe. Turn our fear to reverence. Let us be witnesses of wonder, perceiving all nature as a prayer come alive. We bow to the sovereignty of your strength, the primacy of your power. We yearn for connection with all that lives, doing your will with wholeness of heart. Awe-inspiring is your creation, all-encompassing your transcendent name. On page 51, how do we sense God's holiness? If you like, please join me. And so, in your holiness, give the righteous the gift of a vision bright with joy, a word where evil has no voice, and the rule of malevolence fades like wisps of smoke. Good people everywhere will celebrate the stunning sight of arrogance gone from earth. On page 52, Kadosh ata v'nora shemecha, you are holy, your name is awe, there is nothing divine beyond you. As the prophet Isaiah taught, the source of all might is exalted through justice, the God of holiness made holy through righteousness. Baruch ata Adonai, HaMelech HaKadosh. Blessed are you, Adonai, Holy Sovereign. In your love, eternal our God, you have given us this day of remembrance, a day the shofar's joyful sound, a day of sacred assembly, a day to be mindful of our peoples going out from Egypt. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, ya'aleh ve'yavo ve'yagia ve'yira'eh ve'yiratzeh ve'yishama ve'yipaked ve'yizacher, zichronenu ufikdonenu, our God and God of the generations before us. May a memory of us ascend and come before you. May it be heard and seen by you, winning your favor and reaching your awareness. Together with the memory of our ancestors, the memory of your sacred city, Jerusalem, and the memory of your people, the family of Israel. May we be remembered for safety, well-being, and favor, for love and compassion, for life and for peace, on this day of remembrance.
Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu b'letova ufogdeinu b'livracha תושיענו
Eternal our God, remember us.
Amen.
Amen. Be mindful of us
Amen.
and redeem us for a life of goodness and blessing.
Amen.
Favor us with words of deliverance and mercy. Show us the depth of your care. God, we await your redemption, for you reign with grace and compassion. We now take a few moments to look over the next pages of the Machzor of our prayer book, and we will rejoin all of us together on page 66.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amacha Taisim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amacha Taisim Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. בספר חיים ברכה ושלום. אנחנו וכל עמך בית ישראל. ברוך אתה אדוני עושה השלום.
At this point in our service, we turn to page 72, and our minds turn to those who are in need of healing, of support, and of strength. A prayer for those who are ill and forgivers of care. May the Eternal One who blesses all life bless and strengthen all of us who struggle against illness. May we whose lives are touched by illness be blessed with faith, courage, love, and caring. May we experience the support and sustenance of family, friends, companions, and community. May we be granted restful nights and days of comfort. We pray for refuah shlema, precious moments of healing and a sense of wholeness in body and soul. May those who care for the sick with their hands, their voices, and their hearts be blessed with courage and stamina. May those who pursue healing through medical skill and knowledge be blessed with insight, patience, and compassion. May all of us, the sick and the well together, find courage and hope. And let us together say,
Amen.
Amen.
מי שברך אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב. מי שברך אמותינו, שרה, רבקה, לאה ורחל. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with a vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. מי שברך אבותינו, מי שברך אמותינו, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
We now turn to page 74 for the Avinu Malkeinu. In a moment, we are going to open the ark, and I'm going to invite you to please rise. We call you Avinu. As loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings, accept us in our human frailty. We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of our souls, help us rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. To this vision, we offer ourselves anew. Please rise. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign.
Avinu Malkeinu, lema'ancha rachem aleinu.
Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, show us mercy.
Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu lema'an shemecha.
Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name.
Avinu Malkeinu, shlach refuah shlema לחולי עמך.
Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us.
אבינו מלכנו, קרא רוע גזר דיננו.
Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר גאולה וישועה.
Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal.
אבינו מלכנו, זוכרנו בזיכרון טוב לפניך.
Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind.
אבינו מלכנו, עשה למענך והושיענו.
Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us.
אבינו מלכנו, שמע קולנו.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
אבינו מלכנו, חטאנו לפניך.
Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you.
אבינו מלכנו, חמול עלינו ועל עוללינו וטפנו.
Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families.
אבינו מלכנו, כלי דבר וחרב ורעב מעלינו.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger.
אבינו מלכנו, כלי כל צר ומסטין מעלינו.
Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror.
אבינו מלכנו, כותבנו בספר חיים טובים.
Avinu Malkeinu, enter our name in the book of lives well lived.
אבינו מלכנו, חדש עלינו שנה טובה.
Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness.
אבינו מלכנו, חננו ועננו, כי אין בנו מעשים. עשה עמנו צדקה וחסד, והושיענו.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Koleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol aleinu, V'yadol aleinu, b'tapeinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Umasti
Shana Tova to everybody. It's so good to know that you are watching and praying with us. Though we can't see you, we know that you can see us. And it warms us to know that you are with us this evening. My wishes accompanying Rabbi Cohn's and Cantor Sebo's that your year be a year filled with health and happiness and peace. Friends, I wonder if you feel as I do at this moment that we are drowning in history, drowning in the urgent rush of events that keeps plunging us deeper and deeper day by day. The staggering, unthinkable insurrection of January 6th that came uncomfortably close to toppling our democracy. And then COVID resurgent after a brief but deceptive reprieve early this summer, when on June 2nd, we heard that this would be a summer of joy, a summer of get-togethers and of celebrations. Additionally and unmistakably, nature's revenge on a world slow to react to climate change, with fires raging in the West and unprecedented rains battering the Northeast. Then there is the bungled Afghanistan retreat, dramatizing our country's second lost war of this century and our third in recent memory, including the ignominious Vietnam War, which claimed almost 60,000 American lives. And just late last week, the malevolently devised anti-abortion law in Texas and the Supreme Court's supine response. Not to mention the maddening and immoral anti-vax ignoramuses who blithely imperil their neighbors and extend the pandemic in an appeal to a perverse understanding of the meaning of freedom. All this is recent history. All this pushes us into a near paralysis. Yet there are at the same time the longer-term crises that accelerate the corrosion of our domestic tranquility and unsettle our hearts. Growing income inequality, egregious police brutality, emboldened white supremacy, rampant racism and xenophobia, and deep societal divisions that erode the trust that gives a society its grounding. We feel it all around us and all the time, don't we? And it oppresses us. In just yesterday's New York Times Sunday Review, 6 articles focus on our current malaise. Here are the titles of those 6 pieces. Ida is a glimpse of our new dystopia. Big Oil wants you to blame yourself. America's new disturbing kind of war. Our era of incompetence. The rise of anti-vaccine groups and America's empire in retreat. Thank goodness then for Jennifer Finney Boylan's partially wistful op-ed piece on those golden summers of yore, in contrast to, and I quote her, the gathering fires of this world, end quote. Drowning in history, that is what this torrent of bad news feels like, doesn't it? And what does a drowning person do in the peril he or she faces? First, he cries out. Then he reaches for help. And she is fortunate if she finds that help. And so what are we to do now? How are we to save ourselves from weariness, immobility, and despair. From whence, to quote the psalmist, cometh my help? For some, again with the psalmist, our help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. And for these people, this conviction does offer light, genuine illumination in the darkness of the night. And yet there are other possibilities at hand as well. And so I want to consider some of these resources which are available to us as we celebrate this Erev Rosh Hashanah and at this dark moment in our many histories, personal, communal, and national. Where then should we look for these resources? First and foremost, I believe, must come an act of will. As a beginning, we must simply choose, not because our reason leads us to it, not because the evidence firmly compels it, but simply because such a choice, such a decision, will establish the firm foundation that we need. We must, in a word, choose life, as our Torah portion for Yom Kippur morning insists. And here I want to suggest that choosing life means resolving to be optimistic, insisting on optimism, deciding that we will not succumb to discouragement or depression. We may feel discouraged, but we will not give in to it. We will not allow ourselves to be overcome by the flood that everywhere threatens to engulf us. And that we resolve, we choose to live positively and to seize the precious possibilities that life offers. And so what are the particular choices that we can make? And they are the choices, I believe, of two kinds. Decisions for ourselves, namely a commitment to enrich our own individual lives, and decisions to work for the betterment of our community. For ourselves. Now, there is a wonderful story in the Babylonian Talmud about a person known as Honi the Circle Drawer, who, like Rip Van Winkle, went to sleep for 70 years. When he awoke, he told the people he met that he was Honi the Circle Drawer. But of course, no one believed him, for even his own son had advanced to old age and then died. No, you can't be Honi, they said. In despair, he went to the Beit Midrash, the house of study. And to his amazement, he heard the students quote one of his own opinions. "I am Honi," he exclaimed to them, but they didn't believe him either, nor did anyone else. And naturally, all his own friends were dead as well. And then it dawned on him that without friends, without companions, life is not worth living. And he exclaimed, "O chavruta, o mituta," either friendship or death. And he died. Honi recognized, as we do, that one of life's great joys and one of life's great consolations is the gift of friendship, the gift of friends. No matter how much craziness swirls around us, no matter how oppressively our current malaise pushes us down, we can bring joy to our lives by connecting with friends, old friends and new friends, and even acquaintances who might become real friends. Pick up the phone and enjoy a conversation, or make a coffee date or a lunch date, or plan to take a walk together. Are you reluctant or afraid to do so? Be optimistic. Pick up the phone and allow yourself to escape some of the discouragement we all feel. Think of the wise words of King Solomon. A sweet friendship refreshes the soul. And family too. Connect with a child or a parent or a niece or a grandchild, someone you haven't talked with in a while. Connection and satisfaction are there to be had. Choose it. And then I want to consider the crucial matter of a sense of humor. In this regard, I think regularly about a line from E.E. Cummings' great autobiography, a line that many of you have heard from me before. But of course, this line is one of the mainstays of my life. There in his autobiography, Cummings relates the following incident, as well as its aftermath. It seems that one blustery winter night in New Hampshire, his aged parents decided to take a drive. Along the way, they navigated a railroad crossing, but in the blizzard, they didn't see a train coming, which cut their car in two. Cummings' father was killed instantly, and his mother was severely wounded. While in the hospital, his mother announced to her grieving children that the one thing she wanted now was to join the person she loved most. Gradually, though, Cummings relates, she began to understand what her death would mean to these living children of hers. And very gradually, a miracle happened. She decided to live. And my mother, Cummings continues, always maintained that there are two indispensable factors in life: health and a sense of humor. And although her health eventually failed her, she kept her sense of humor to the beginning. That's a mind-altering idea, isn't it? Keeping one's sense of humor to the beginning, leading with our sense of humor. Because to smile, to laugh, according to Terry Eagleton, is to live profoundly. And there is deep meaning in Desmond Morris's notion that laughter actually evolved from crying, since humor represents a kind of victory over the difficulties and the pains of life. Humor can bring relief from too much reality. And too much reality can, if only for a blessed moment, be shucked off by a bright smile or a resonant laugh. As Eagleton again remarks, humor does for adults what play does for children. Namely, it liberates us from the despotism of reality. Optimism and humor. And here is yet another suggestion. Let's turn off our cell phones and our computers once in a while. Let's get off Facebook and Twitter and take a pause from the constant back and forth of those messages and emails and texts that threaten our well-being. Let us refuse to be the prisoners of the technologies that also help us. Let us take charge of our lives and not be the helpless victims of the flood of messages that relentlessly pours in upon us. Now, I know that I am as guilty as the next person about all this. Thank God I have escaped Facebook and its many malignancies. But I do look at my cell phone too often and look through my texts and emails too obsessively. But I'm going to try to do better. Because all this technology, important as are its benefits, this technology constantly harasses us into subservience. I recall an episode from one of Philip Roth's novels in which the protagonist describes a visit to New York City after a long absence. And he notes while walking the streets of Manhattan how everyone was now tethered to their phones, which causes him to ponder the following. Just how lonely can these people be that they always need to be connected, never alone with their own thoughts, never allowing themselves to experience the ever-surprising spectacle of the city streets and sidewalks and the people who populate them? Is Roth right? Are we so lonely that we can't be alone for a minute? And finally, I want to talk about hope. Now, hope is different from optimism. Optimism is a life stance. It is diffuse and unfocused, precisely because it represents a way of seeing and a way of living in the world. Hope, on the other hand, is more concrete, more focused. I live optimistically, but I hope for certain specifics. Hope, says Emily Dickinson in a famous poem, is a thing with feathers. Hope is a thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that keeps so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. This is exactly right, isn't it? Real hope is strong-willed, it's powerful, it's durable, and it's always near at hand if we make it so. Also, it soars and has the capacity to express itself no matter what. In fact, real hope is most resilient when confronted by fierce storms, Emily Dickinson's line, and sweetest in the gale is heard. And hope gives us comfort and direction and a sense of equilibrium. What is it that we hope for? I suggest now, at this particular moment, that each of us make a list of the particular things for which we hope. The things we could bring about tomorrow if we tried, and the things that may take a little more time and planning to bring about. The very presence and power of hope can animate and give purpose to life. What indeed do you hope for? And now what about the communities and the world in which we live? How can we play a role in confronting our deep societal problems and then doing something, even a small something about them? Perhaps we cannot affect large-scale change, but each of us can make something of a difference. We can rise up and challenge the corrosive claim that there are no facts but only opinions. And we can challenge the claim that scientists and physicians are not following the data but are only propagandists. We can lend our voice against our country's all too common rush to war, accompanied by the glib and hubristic claim by our leaders that we can, by invasion and by occupation, change a foreign country's culture and its way of life, and bend it to our way of life. So what can we do about all of this? Here is my suggestion in a nutshell. Get involved in politics. Politics, I mean, in the broad sense, which is not necessarily about elections, but it's about power. Power in its uses and its abuses. Its legitimate and its illegitimate deployment. Acknowledge the urgency of our problems and feel the elation of actually taking part in the drama of democracy. We have two major parties that entertain radically different solutions to so many of our problems. And we, you and I, can make a difference in how these problems are thought about and resolved by engaging in the political process in one or more of the many opportunities to do so. Whether it is by educating ourselves about the issues, lobbying our elected leaders, engaging in voter registration drives, participating in such groups as the League of Women Voters, Common Cause, and the National Council of Jewish Women, or by canvassing neighborhoods as elections come near. Each of us can make a difference. Being active on behalf of our community and on behalf of a saner politics. This too, this very activity, and not just the results, this very involvement in something larger than ourselves, this very purposeful activity can also help us keep the current malaise at bay and bring real meaning and vitality to our lives. Caring for ourselves and caring for our community. Cultivating optimism. Nurturing our friendships. Broadening our sense of humor and nourishing hope. Moderating our dependence on our phones and our other technologies. In all these ways, taking charge of our lives, even in depressing times when we often feel so victimized. These are some of the ways to keep from drowning in the history that is happening in our times. More than this, these are the ways through which we can say to ourselves, I can surmount these difficulties through my own choices. And these are the ways that I can become free. We continue now with the Kiddush, the words for which can be found on page 79 in our prayer books.
Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, bori peri hagafen. Baruch ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol olam, ורוממנו מכל לשון וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה את יום הזיכרון הזה, יום תרועה מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל ודברך אמת וקיים לעד. ברוך אתה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, מקדש ישראל ביום הזיכרון.
We continue now on page 82. As you are able, will you please rise for the Aleinu?
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה יוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו פינויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו גבר, וגור עלינו ככל העולם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לבית מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר
We remain standing now as we turn to page 89 in our prayer books. The light of life is a finite flame. Like our sacred candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows. It is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance and our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down and gutters. There is an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives, we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and of life. Our thoughts turn now to loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and those who died at this season in years past. Our hearts open as well to the wider circles of loss in our community and wherever grief touches the human family. I invite us all now to pause for a few seconds to give those of us who wish to remember by either speaking their names aloud or quietly in our own hearts, an opportunity to mention those who have gone from our view but who continue to animate our lives. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing in this new year and always. We continue now on page 90 as we recite together the Mourner's Kaddish. As we say, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon of yomeichon, v'chayedechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalav izman kariv v'yemru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'olam alamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudashah b'richu le'ela u'le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom arabah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say together, Amen. You may be seated. Before we conclude our service, a couple of thank yous and a couple of announcements. First of all, our food drive will take place this Sunday, September the 12th, from 9 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon at our campus in Beechwood. Those of you who are going to bring non-perishable food items, there will be volunteers there at the temple entrance, and they will be helping you to find the right place for your donation. And in advance, we thank you for your thoughtfulness. As for thank yous, I want to thank our wonderful accompanist, Bill Toller, who always stuns me with his improvisations, as well as following the script when he is accompanying others. I also want to thank our combined choir. By that I mean, and I had to ask Andrew Sebo earlier today what that meant. Now that she tells me, it's obvious. We generally have 2 services on the holiday, one in Beechwood and one here, simultaneously, and so we have 2 different choirs. Because we're only doing 1 service now, we've combined the choirs, and we are the more blessed for it. You guys are really, really great, and you stir our hearts and our souls. Continuing the Rosh Hashanah holiday service schedule, Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock will be a young family service, and it will be virtual. And it says here that the link will be activated on 9/7 tomorrow. So you haven't received the link yet, but don't worry, you will get it in the morning. 9 o'clock in the morning. At 9:30 here in the Silver Sanctuary will be our Rosh Hashanah morning service. 9:30 here and virtual again. At 11 o'clock, our Renew My Soul service streaming from the Milton and Tamar Maltz Chapel in Beechwood. Also at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Rabbi Cohn's annual Rosh Hashanah study session, which will be on Zoom. We're going to conclude our service this evening with the singing of Adon Olam. You can find the words on page 94.
Adon Olam asher marach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'et nasa b'chavto kol azai melech shemo nikra v'hacharek yivot hakol levado yimoch bara v'hu haya v'hu oreh v'hu yeh b'tivara v'hu echad ve'en sheni lecham shilo lechakira v'nireshit v'nitachlit ve'lo oz ve'av Yisra v'hu eli v'chai koli v'tzur chevli v'yetzara v'hu nisi umanos li menat kosi b'yom ekra biyado kirochi v'eiti sham v'ahira v'ruchi givi'ati Adonai li v'lo
And on page 99, Hi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu shetechadesh aleinu shana tova u'matuka. Our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. L'shana tova tikatevu v'techamenu v'techatemu. May you be inscribed and sealed for a good year. Shana tova.